5 a.m. It's 5 a.m. Dad turns on the light and comes downstairs. Dave, we need to take Mom to the hospital. Fuck me, I think. Now what? I shake my head to wake up and get out of bed, and it hits me. I shake my head to wake up and then get out of bed, and it hits me. Dave, we need to take Mom to the hospital. Fuck me, I think. Now what? I shake my head to wake up, and as I get out of bed, it hits me. I shake my head to wake up, and as I get out of bed, it hits me. I'm stoned. Really stoned. Or more precisely, still stoned. A bit of a backstory for anyone not familiar with my life. I'm a weight loss consultant, in quotes. More of a coach, but I dislike that term. A technician would be a good definition. I show people step by step how to use various methods to lose weight. Various weight loss methods. Step by step, various weight loss methods. But in reality, I'm an unlicensed psychologist. I don't actually care if someone wants to eat themselves to death. That's their life and their choice. But if they ask for help, I will help. And 99% of the obese are struggling with mental health issues. Health issues, not some physical ailment which forces them to gain weight. That does not exist. That does not exist. So I try to help them get to the stage where they admit they have a problem mentally. Understanding you have a problem is the problem. And when they do, I get them to see a real therapist. And then my job is done. Professionals take over on the mental health side, and I continue to help on the... And then my job is easier. The professionals take over on the mental health side, and I continue to help on the physical aspects. Back to the story. Back to the story. I've been staying at my parents' house for about a month, helping them get into keto and some other health issues. One of my mother's issues is sleep. In her desperation and mine, I bought some edible tea oil from the local dispensary. Which sounds funny considering they live in rural Saskatchewan. But a town not too far away has a dispensary equal to anything I would find on the BC coast, where I've been staying the past couple of winters. And enjoying the easy accessibility to marijuana. So I bought a bottle of indica, perfect for sleep, and was ready to offer it to her if needed. However, I wanted her to deal with her sleep issues first, if at all possible. But before I crossed that bridge. I want her to deal with her sleep issues first, if at all possible. On her own, if at all possible. But before I cross that bridge, I want her to deal with her sleep issues on her own, if at all possible. Now, being a stickler for quality control and not wanting to overdose my mother, I figured I'd better test this stuff first. It looked like it was government control, or issued, so it may be crap. It was not. The first night I took a 30 milligram dose. If you don't understand how much that is, 10 milligrams is considered a single dose/serving of THC or equal to a drink of alcohol. So not that much for an experienced weed user. But to be fair, I didn't have edibles in my system for 6 months, so I was a bit green, pardon the pun. The 30 milligrams worked just fine. I fell asleep, barely moved all night, and woke up refreshed. Not even any fucked up dreams like other edibles seem to cause. So I knew it worked, but I still wasn't ready to pull the trigger with my mom. But I kept using it nightly, of course. Why not? I was getting a great sleep. However, as in the past, my tolerance quickly rose. By the third night, it took 60 milligrams, equal to 6 doses, and by the fifth night, 120 milligrams or 12 doses, equivalent to a case of beer to achieve the same effect. Which is the reason I don't use weed on a regular basis. My tolerance builds up so quick, it becomes expensive, and I never know what dose I need, except more. My tolerance builds up so quick, it becomes expensive, and I never know what dose I need, except more. Which brings me back to the night of the incident. I'd used up most of the bottle already, and I figured I might as well finish it off. I can't say for sure how much I took, but probably the 300 to 500 milligrams range, equivalent to 30 to 50 drinks if you believe that conversion logic, which I don't. I believe everyone is different, and I've done up to 1,000 milligrams in a single session, so for me, not an issue, or so I thought. However, trust me, 300 plus milligrams is a massive amount for most people, and will put a few in the hospital with delusions, hallucinations, or both. Anyway, this was pretty good Saskatchewan weed. And I was sleeping and dreaming in another world when Dad came down and woke me up. Reality slapped me in the face hard, and only then did I realize how high I was. Like really fucking stoned, and it was 5 a.m. I'd already been sleeping for 6 hours, but apparently not much weed had left my system. Now I'm fucked. My mother's having a stroke. Well, she thinks she's having a stroke or a heart attack or both. My dad can't drive since he's nearly blind. Mom probably shouldn't be driving if she's dying. And I'm fucked up and shouldn't be driving. Plus, I can't talk. Earlier in the night, I was having some fucked up dreams and many hypnagogic jerks. Like an excessive amount. And some felt like electrical shocks going through my body. But I've learned weird shit happens when you take high doses of weed. It's part of the game. And I tried to shrug it off. I started talking out loud to myself to see if maybe I needed to clear the fog in my brain, but no go. I sounded drunk, and I definitely was not. Although I'm a weed enthusiast, I'm definitely not a drunk anymore. And then I noticed I can't lift my left arm. It's just swinging around like a monkey arm. Now I'm thinking, fuck, I am having a stroke. By then I noticed my right arm is barely working too, and it feels funny. Double stroke? Is that even possible? I try and calm down. I've had weed overdoses before. But normally on purpose, and normally I put up signs around the room saying, "You are just high," which counteracts any paranoia, for me at least. And this weed was great. I didn't have any hallucinations or delusions at all, just pure sleep and relaxation. Anyways, time is of the essence, as my mom might actually need medical attention. I could tell him I can't drive, but I needed reason, and having a stroke of my own didn't. It didn't seem like it'd help unless I could tell him I can't drive, but I need a reason. And having a stroke of my own didn't seem like it would help the situation unless it was true. I tried to refocus. I looked at my phone and thought I could Google the symptoms. I could not. Way too stoned for the phone. No problem. I can remember the code word to check. I could not. Stop was the only thing that came to mind, but I couldn't figure out what any of the letters stood for. Then I remembered face and figured that was it because drooping face was one of the symptoms, which I did remember, which accounted for the F. Which accounted for the F, and I wasn't sure if the arm thing was only for heart attacks or strokes too, but that covered the A. But the C and E I didn't have a clue about. However, I figured if F and A were confirmed, at least I could make a decision. As I walked upstairs to the bathroom, I noticed I'm walking fine, other than the monkey arms. Not swaying or dizzy, nothing hurts. I look in the mirror and my face seems normal. I remember that people with strokes can't smile correctly, so I smile and nothing is drooping, but my smile is goofy and I start to laugh. Oh yeah, I'm just high, not dying, I think. Or am I? Well, my mom may be dying and I'm laughing, so yeah, probably high. I then realized this is the first time I've ever been in an emergency situation with this much weed in me. Normally I'm locked in hotel rooms, safe and sound, and just sleep it off, no matter what the dose. I try again to lift my left arm, and it moves a bit. My right arm now is okay though. I use it to lift the left, but not much happens. I look in the mirror again and notice my eyes, dilated to the max. My irises barely exist. It's all pupil, kind of. The top part seems to be more than the bottom, and I have this weird animation-style pupil. Now I'm confused. Fucked up pupils could be a symptom of both stroke and stoned, I think. I wash my face, try and sober up, and decide, fuck it. Try and clear up my head and decide, fuck it. If I can drive, I will. It's easier than trying to explain why I'm stoned on my ass. Like most potheads, I've driven a bit stoned. Not this stoned, but how hard could it be? Plus, it's rural Saskatchewan at 5 a.m. The chance of even seeing another vehicle is slim to none. I figure worst case scenario is I can't drive, or mom deteriorates, or mom passes out, and we call 911 on the way. I leave the washroom and go get my jacket. And then I notice my mom took the time to put on makeup, and I can smell hairspray. Hang on a sec. This is an emergency, but there's time to get makeup on? She's not quite ready, so I head to the kitchen and grab a coffee. My left arm is starting to come back to normal, and I realized it was just asleep. I was so stoned and sleeping so sound, I had cut the circulation off. So I'm not dying, I think. Fuck me. I go outside and help my dad get the van out. I go outside and help my dad get the van out of the garage. He's pretty blind, but can get vehicles out and ready to go. It's fucking freezing outside, minus 35 Celsius. It's fucking freezing outside, minus 35 Celsius. I instantly get chilled and start shaking. I try and talk to Dad, but with the weed and the cold, nothing comes out. Mom joins us outside and we all get in the van. Everything in my body is shaking now. Arms, legs, everything. The seat is warm, and now I start getting The seat is warm, but I start getting hot flashes in my legs, like ripples of heat. What am I doing, I think? I'm going to kill us all on the way to the hospital. But in for Penny. They've lived a long life, and I'm always looking for a good ending to my book, so what the fuck? And then I realize, I rarely drive at night. I only drive a bit to begin with, but almost never at night, and never stoned at night. I look out the window and have a bit of tunnel vision. The lights don't seem bright enough, but it's winter and lots of snow, so it's okay. Fuck it. I drive us out of town and get on the highway. It's not too bad. Vision is a bit narrow, but I'm not swerving or driving erratically. And then I look down at the speedometer. 60 kilometers an hour. Fuck. I'm barely moving. Dad's in the back and probably can't see the speedometer, but eagle-eyed Mom is surely noticing our speed. But for once in her life, isn't saying anything. I increase up to 70. It's okay, but it feels like 70 miles an hour, not kilometers an hour. Still not fast enough, I think, to avoid suspicion from my mother. I'm not worried about cops or the vehicles. No one else is on the road. I get it up to 80, and keeping it in my lane, I get up to 80. I get it up to 80, and I'm keeping it in my lane, so I figure I'm good. And then Dad asks me if the road is icy. I try to respond, but my mouth still isn't working, partly from weed and partly from the cold causing me to shake uncontrollably. And I'm still thinking maybe I'm having a stroke. And if it is a stroke, then I should be going to the hospital anyways. But if it isn't a stroke and we get to the hospital, the first nurse to look into my eyes is going to think I'm either high or having some sort of medical issue. Especially if I still can't talk by then. Luckily, no one hears my response about the lack of ice on the road. All the heaters are on full blast anyways. I probably could have said, I'm too fucking high to know, and they wouldn't have understood. And then, barely 2K down the road, Mom says, I think I'm okay now. Motherfucker. Are you kidding me? Yep, I think I'm okay now. Let's go back, if needed, and we'll go to the 8 a.m. We'll go at 8 a.m. when the shift changes. What the fuck? Ignoring the shift change comment, I'm now in a quandary. In some ways, I want to go to the hospital in case I'm having a stroke, but I'm still driving like a 90-year-old man. Man at 60 kilometers an hour. And at 60 kilometers an hour, it's still a good 20-minute drive. What the fuck do I do? Yeah, let's go back, Mom says. No, Mom, I think I'm having a stroke and we should continue is an optional response, but I withhold it. I convince myself it's just the weed creating my symptoms, and I look for a place to turn around, which is pretty much every mile in Saskatchewan. We turn around and head home. I'm still barely exceeding 70 kilometers an hour, but it still feels like we were flying. I'm not worried about losing control and hitting the ditch and exploding into a fireball of death. At worst, if we go off the highway, the 3 feet of snow in the ditch will bring us to a rather gentle halt. I do try and turn down the seat heater. My legs are still flashing with what feels like a river of hot blood. By the time I find the button and push it twice, I look up and I'm in the shoulder. Son of a bitch. But no worries. 5 minutes later, we're all back home safe and sound. Mom lies down, still talking about returning at 8 a.m. Again, who schedules their ER visit and knows a shift change? Dad goes to the kitchen for a coffee. I should join him, but my mouth is barely working. I'm still not 100% convinced I'm not having a stroke, but I go lie down anyways. I leave my coat on just in case, and because I'm still cold. I set my alarm for 20 minutes. Like somehow, if I wake up in 20 minutes, then I won't die. God, I was so fucking high. But it works. The alarm goes off, and I look around and feel a bit better. I set it again. Goes off again, and once more, I feel better. Goes off again, and once more, I feel better. I don't set it anymore. I'm sure I'm not dying now or having a stroke or a heart attack, and I just go back to sleep. They'll wake me before the 8 a.m. hospital run, and by then I should be able to see the road and get the van up to the speed limit at least. I might even be able to talk. If you've ever lived in rural communities, you understand these roads are often desolate for hours during the daylight, so the chances of us coming across cops or creating an accident at 5 a.m. was slim. I'm not justifying my behavior, but I'm also not apologizing. Was it a risk? Sure. Could I get in an accident? Doubtful. Could I get a DUI? Absolutely. But even a DUI for weed would be a good ending to my story, so what the fuck? So by noon, I was fine. By the end of the day, I was laughing my ass off at the events. As was my mother. We didn't return that day. By noon, I was fine, as was my mother. We didn't return that day. By the end of the day, I was laughing my ass off at the events. I gave my mother a hard time about her pride, but I was so prideful I was willing to drive under the influence instead of admitting I was high and possibly stroking out. However, I just couldn't imagine it was a stroke. My health and weight are the best they have been in 25 years. And I'm a massive proponent of the keto diet. So if I stroke out on keto, there goes my credibility. However, I learned my lesson, not about weed, only about not doing massive amounts while at my parents'. But man, what an ending to my book that would have been. Killed parents and myself while stoned as fuck in a fiery car crash.